Hi, my name is Ed Heyburn. I am an attorney in New Jersey, and I am the owner of Voir Dire Data. Voir Dire Data is a company to help lawyers during jury selection. What happens in New Jersey is lawyers get a very limited amount of information about potential jurors. In other states, lawyers are allowed extensive voir dire, and they can question the jurors themselves. Unfortunately, in New Jersey, the court or the judge is the one that controls questioning of jurors, and depending on the judge you have, he or she may allow a very limited amount of questions. And usually they will prohibit questions that will give you the most information. Like a judge wouldn't permit you to ask who the particular juror supported in an election, whether they donate money to a particular party, things that would really give you information about their particular political biases, which always are reflected and come out into the jury room. Also, although the jury lists are available 10 days in advance, lawyers only get the specific panel of jurors listed about 5 minutes before jury selection. So even if you're a tech-savvy lawyer, it's very difficult for you to go through that list within 5 minutes and see which of the jurors are good or bad. So what I've done is I've developed a company and software that will get the list in advance and go out and scrape the internet for any public data that's available that would give you information to suggest whether a juror is good or bad for you, and you can use that information. Now, as you can imagine, some jurors have a very large digital footprint, and there's a lot of information about them, and other jurors have virtually no digital footprint, and that'll give you some information about them just in and of itself. In front of you, what you're looking at is a actual jury report prepared based on a jury list that I got from Mercer County for April 21st, 2014. The format of the report remains the same, so let's take a look at it. The juror's name is up here, last name, comma, first name, and all the jurors are going to be in alphabetical order. What I've done is I've assembled it into a PDF file. It was difficult to come to a consensus as to what type of format would work for most lawyers, and if you ask 100 lawyers how they select jurors, you will get 200 responses. So I worked with a number of lawyers and how they selected jurors, and I determined that a PDF format would work on a multitude of levels. So worst case scenario, a lawyer could print out the PDF file, although it would be quite large, and use it as a paper system. If the lawyer is somewhat more tech savvy, or at least has staff that can help him or help her, the lawyer can go into court and use a laptop with a PDF file. The PDF file can even be run from an iPad or any similar mobile device. So the format of the report is in front of you. The juror's last name, first name is available. Now, if the juror, the key is if the juror is registered to vote, we can access other information like their address. So we have their street number, we have the name of their street, their town. Obviously, they have to be a resident of that county and a resident of the state in order to be eligible to sit on the jury, and their zip code. We're also able to extract their date of birth and their age. We find that in jury selection, somebody's age and where they live shape their opinions and their biases, and it's something important to consider. In this box, if they have an open Facebook profile, or if any of their information is available, that Facebook link will be reported there. A lot of people don't have Facebook, and you'll just see a blank box, but we'll look at occasions where jurors do have Facebook profiles, and it is surprising how much information people permit to be accessible to the public. Now, a word of caution: if it's public, you're permitted as a lawyer to look at whatever's public, but under no circumstances should you make any effort to contact or friend or have somebody else friend the jury. That could end up in jury tampering charges. But just looking at the information that's public information is perfectly acceptable, both under the criminal statutes and the professional rules of conduct. The next bit of information we have is something that's self-reported on the jury sheet, and it is their employment. This person indicates that they're a home improvement contractor. One of the key and probably the most valuable aspect of the jury report is their political affiliation. For people who have declared themselves either an independent, a Democrat, or Republican, that's reported publicly. And in this case, Michael Abate has reported that he is a Republican, so we can draw a lot of inferences from that. We're going to take a look at a number of other reports, but the records indicate that he's not a public employee, he's not a teacher, and he doesn't work for a police department. If you do print out the sheets, you can take notes here on the individual jurors, and if a juror is stricken for some reason, you can use this checkbox system. Now, in Mercer County for this particular week, there were about 500 jurors, which would become unmanageable if it was a big data dump of a PDF file. Fortunately, Adobe Acrobat has a indexing system for their jurors. Has an indexing system for their files. So what we do at Voir Dire Data is we index the particular jury report with a juror's last name. So if you needed to skip from one juror to the next, you can easily do that. Again, here we have Alex Barrias, lives in East Windsor, New Jersey. He's 26 years old. He's a creative director, and he's a Democrat. Another person lives in Princeton, Stefan Burkel, and he's 53. He reports that he's an insurance underwriter, and he is a Democrat. So far, we don't have any public information in terms of employment or Facebook for these particular gentlemen. And if we scroll through, let's take a look at somebody that does have a Facebook profile. Okay, here's an interesting aspect. Rachel Blaney doesn't have a full address, okay, and we don't have a date of birth or an age on her, which means that Rachel is not registered to vote. So if they're not registered to vote, that information is not reported, so there is no information. She reports that she's a grooming assistant, but fortunately, Rachel has a Facebook profile. And all you need to do is to click on Facebook on the profile, and Rachel Blaney's pictures come up. So it appears that Rachel has at least a child and a significant other, and you could actually read the post that Rachel posted. We can see what Rachel's favorite movies are. She likes Dr. Seuss, The Wizard of Oz, maybe a product of having a young child, and her likes. She's obviously into wrestling. She has a number of WWE likes, Ellen DeGeneres as well, and to the extent that Rachel permits it, you can read all of her posts, and there may be things in these posts that give you an insight as to how Rachel would decide a particular case. Okay, so let's go back to Rachel's page. Now, I'm going to scroll through. It's not the best way to do it, but what I want to do is look for somebody that has a LinkedIn profile. Not everybody has a LinkedIn profile, but you will see it is an emerging social media, or what we call in the industry a pro-social or pro-social media, where it's a professional social media where people use it to interact with other people in their industry, with potential employers, and use it for all sorts of business purposes. Well, Robert Blazer is registered to vote. He lives in Princeton. He's 47 years old. He also has a Facebook profile. We'll skip that for a minute. He's a Democrat. But if we scroll down past, we see that Robert has some limited information available on LinkedIn. Okay, he's a senior associate at Michael Graves and Associates, and some of the information is most of the information is self-reporting. So you will see sometimes spelling mistakes. That's not on our account. We just report whatever it is that the juror reported about themselves. He went to college. He apparently is an architect and graduate with a master's degree in 1997 from University of Maryland. He attended Bucknell University and graduated with an architectural degree in 1989. So if you take the combination of his background, somewhat of a creative person, he's involved in architecture, so he will have some information about design and construction because he probably works in that field. He's a Democrat, and let's take a look at his page. His Facebook page shows where he works, which is consistent with Facebook, where he lives, which is consistent with our data, and it appears that he grew up in Connecticut. Then you could just click through whatever it is that he allows you to see. There's nothing inappropriate to see what he's been up to, and if there's anything that will shape how it is that he will determine or act as a juror on your case. Now you can see there's 500 jurors, but on a typical panel you may only have 40. So what you'll have to do is just scroll through alphabetically, last name, first name, and you will have to select the jurors that are relevant for your case. Here's an interesting case. Shari Leventhal is registered to vote. She lives in East Windsor. She's 59 years old. She reported that she's a teacher, and she's a Democrat. She doesn't have a Facebook page, which seems to be a common theme for teachers. It's rare that we can find a teacher with a Facebook page. I think that Facebook pages invite a lot of problems for teachers with both students and parents, so a lot of them opt out of it. Although it doesn't show she's a public employee, she doesn't work for the state, it does show that she is a teacher. She works in Mercer County for the East Windsor Regional School District, and she's been there 21 years. And she makes a salary of $82,437. So she's somewhat on the higher end of the teacher scale, and she works in the elementary to kindergarten range. The state data doesn't provide us with an actual class. A lot of times teachers will identify what grade they work in, but we know that she teaches, it says one class, generally in the lower grades. That means one curriculum for a solid level. You'll see with the high school teachers, if they teach different classes, you may see 2, 3, 4 classes, which there seems to be a separation in how the school districts quantify what it is that teachers teach. But in the lower grades, for the most part, it's pretty common just to see classes taught 1. Okay. Now, this is an example of somebody where there's virtually no digital footprint. Dorothy Lewis. We know that she lives in Trenton because that's what the court reported to us. She's not on Facebook. She reports no employment. She's not registered to vote. She doesn't work for the state. She's not a teacher. She doesn't work for a police department, and she has no LinkedIn profile. So normally you would think of this type of data as a fail because we weren't able to extract anything about Ms. Lewis that would give us an indication about which way she would lean in a jury room. But I think that the fact that she's not registered to vote, doesn't appear to have a job, doesn't participate in social media, shows that she's somewhat disconnected from society, and she's off the grid. So I think you can use the lack of information to your advantage as well. She's not connected in to many aspects that our jurors and we as attorneys participate in. Let's take a look at a couple more, and then I think that you will get the idea. Okay. One of the things that we're working on is this person, Elvis Lewis, is a state trooper. And his address is in Hamilton, New Jersey. He's 27 years old, and he reports himself as working as a state trooper. But here's what sometimes what they report is inconsistent with the information that the state has on them. And there are some reasons why, and we'll talk about it. But he doesn't have a Facebook page. But when you look at the public employee, it shows that he is a secretarial assistant 3 for human services. And his salary as of last year was $44,916.28. So why is there an inconsistency? If when you get into a courtroom and you ask the trooper when he became a trooper, my guess is his employment up until 2013, he worked for Human Services and then became a trooper this year. That, in combination with his age, would make sense. So he had a job and then is a new trooper as opposed to somebody that's been working there for a while. So even when you get inconsistent data, there's a reason for it. The salary reports are done yearly, so we can't tell you how much somebody made last week, but we sure can tell you who they worked for last year, because that's, again, all public information. Okay, you can scroll through, or let's jump around using the index so you can see how easy it is to navigate from one person to the next. Lynn Middleton lives in Ewing, New Jersey. She has a Facebook page, and she is a judiciary clerk. She makes $48,751.35. We know that she's a Democrat, and we know that she has a Facebook page, and Ms. Middleton has created a LinkedIn account. Now, if we looked at Ms. Middleton's account, the information that she has says for New Jersey Department of Transportation, and she lists her skills and experience: civil engineering, project planning, transportation planning, etc. So what is important is, even though you're getting two inconsistent pieces of information, you're getting two aspects of Ms. Middleton's life. She does have a background at the Department of Transportation, and if you had a case that involved a pothole, roadway design, some aspect of civil engineering, she's going to bring with it some of her own personal experiences. But it appears that now she's a judiciary clerk, so my guess is that she created a LinkedIn profile, but then never updated when she became a judiciary clerk. She probably just didn't have an interest, and LinkedIn doesn't report how current the information is. So if somebody doesn't keep their LinkedIn account updated, you'll see these lapses in information. Okay, let's take a look. Here's another teacher, and this is one of the exceptions to the rule where a teacher does have Facebook. So this particular teacher is, she lives in Hamilton. She's 65 years old. She reports herself as a teacher, and the party affiliation says unaffiliated. So she is neither Republican or Democrat, and somebody that we would consider an independent. Okay. If you look down at the teacher information, we see that she works for Hamilton Township. She's been there 16 years. She makes $76,000, and she teaches a kindergarten class. It's important because we tend to think of people based on their professions. It would be hard to be a kindergarten teacher for 16 years unless you possessed some qualities that you were caring and nurturing, and that's probably something she's going to carry over into the jury room as well. Let's take a look at what she has available on Facebook. Okay, we see a picture of Liz. We see a number of her friends. We see the things that she likes. She's obviously traveled, been to New Orleans, University of New Orleans, and some hotels. She shops at Target. This would be interesting if your defendant is Target and she not only shops there but was a fan of Target, and enough so that she would go onto her Facebook page and like their site. So I assume that would be something that you would factor in. Now, Liz has not shared any of her personal messages with us, so all of that's private. Okay, we can tell that she joined Facebook within the last 2 years, and it doesn't tell us when she was born. Okay, if you want it, there's nothing to stop you from going ahead and looking at her friends to see who her friends are. This is something that she could have made private, but she didn't, so you can pop and look through her friend's account. Okay. And if you go through report by report, you'll see there's a myriad of information about people. Their LinkedIn accounts are associated. Their public information is reported. And you can take a look at it and use it to your benefit. Prior to this type of data being available to lawyers, in selecting jurors, lawyers essentially used these gut instincts that were really tantamount to racial profiling and socioeconomic profiling. So when I was a young lawyer, a senior partner educated me in jury selection, and he went through the classifications of races and said this race will do this, that race will do that. And essentially that was pretty much how we handled jury selection. And then the further you got into it, certain professions would seem to be less sympathetic to a plaintiff in a personal injury case. If it was a financial analyst, somebody who worked on Wall Street, somebody that had fairly conservative values that were more pro-corporation and less individual, those would be people that wouldn't be helpful if you were a plaintiff's personal injury attorney. Now, conversely, if you represent the defendant, you're going to take that scenario and look at the exact opposite. Well, here's what I found as a young attorney. You really couldn't rely on racial stereotypes because you had many people that were of certain ethnic backgrounds, and they may have been viewed positively as being a very empathetic particular class of people, and they would be pro-plaintiff, but you see these emerging classes where perhaps their parents were one way, but now they've gone to college and they have more conservative values than their parents. So while their racial profile is consistent with their parents, their beliefs are completely different. And if you just use racial profiling, you're going to fail miserably. So this gives you a lot more access in terms of what you know about the jurors, and lets you make your decisions based on better information. Okay, let's take a look at one more person, and then you'll get the concept. And what I've done is, if you go to my website and you go to, it's www.Voir Dire Data, hopefully you know how to spell Voir Dire Data.com, and you go to the page up at the top that says freebies, you'll see that I've posted, and I'll post some examples of reports for people. So you can take a look at it and see how it is that you would use it in trial. And we'll take a look at John Mongan. And John lives in Robbinsville, is 59 years old, and he is a Democrat. It says that he is a procurement and facilities manager, and it doesn't appear that he works for the state or Department of Education, and he provides a very limited amount of information in his LinkedIn profile. We just know that he works for Siemens. So he is working in a high-tech industry, and he is running the facilities there. That might become valuable if you're dealing with a medical device or a high-tech device that fails, where it might impact an industry like the high-tech machines, equipment, things that Siemens involved in. So you may want to look at John's background, even though you have limited information, to see if his experiences there are going to impact that. Okay, so that was the last one. Let's give you one more. Aubrey Moore. Aubrey is 26 years old, lives in Ewing, and she's a student. She is unaffiliated, so she is a independent. So she's probably just deciding where she's falling on the political spectrum. And if you click on here, you'll see that you will get Aubrey's Facebook page. Kids or younger people tend to have elaborate or post more information than older people. Older people tend to focus more on pictures and things like that, but there may be more information on somebody like Aubrey. And young people are using social media like LinkedIn. And in this particular case, Aubrey has put her educational background and her skills. Here's where LinkedIn gets pretty interesting during jury selection, okay? We know that she was a student at St. Mary's University, or at least still is. She's been for the past 2 years and 9 months. But look at what we can find out from her background. She has a license as an alcohol and drug counselor. And how many times do we have clients, whether it's in the criminal world or in the civil world, that are involved with drugs and alcohol? And here we have a person that has a license and experience in helping people with those problems. I would think that you would have to make the assumption that she's going to be sympathetic, despite the fact that she's probably seen more than her share of problems. And we also see that she's an LPN. So we know that she's a nurse. She's not an RN, but she's an LPN. So she works or at least worked in a field before she went back to school that is nurturing and caring. And she may be a good juror for the plaintiff and a troubling one for a defendant in a personal injury case. Again, I am focusing primarily on personal injury cases, but I think that you can use whatever system that you use. If it were a corporate dispute or a transaction gone bad, or breach of contract, whatever type of case you have, criminal case, you could use that and take a look at the information that Voir Dire Data provides you, and you can use that in jury selection. But here's the interesting part that I wanted to draw your attention to. Look at the list of skills that Aubrey Moore identifies herself having: nursing, treatment, direct patient care, public speaking, grant writing, Microsoft Office, and the list goes on. Rarely, if ever, will a court give a juror an opportunity to give that much information about themselves. Generally, what type of work they do and what type of work their family members do is the extent of it. But here we get a lot better sense of the type of juror that Aubrey would make, especially when you look down that she's doing community outreach. Okay, so that is Voir Dire Data's jury report. My name again is eheyburn, and I am a New Jersey attorney. I can be reached at 609-240-5578. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it is at Voir Dire Data. And if you go to our website at voirdiredata.com, you can sign up for our product and you can try it out. You can use some of our sample products to see if it works for you. What I'm going to do is I am going to supply a limited amount of data on what we call a freemium subscription. So it's not going to be this extensive, but just so that you can sort of get your feet wet and you can see if it works for you, you can subscribe to that, and I will send out an email as data comes in. Now, if you do have a case and you want us to put together a jury report for you, please get in touch with us as soon as possible. The rules permit that we can get the jury list from any county 10 days in advance. The process of scrubbing the data from the internet, ruling out the false positives, and assembling it into a report takes some time. So if you call us the night before, unless we've already done that perchance or by happenstance, we're not going to have it available for you. So try to give us as much time as available. What I've done is I've tried to develop a pricing scheme that would work for people on multiple levels. So if you just want a 1 week report for a particular case, I charge a flat rate of $500. Now, in a county like Middlesex, you can have upwards of 5 different lists, which could be over 2,000 jurors, and the $500 would cover each and every day. In other counties, it could be more. Some counties, it's less, but nonetheless, for $500, you get the entire week. If you want to subscribe and get one county every week, what I've done is I put together a very tight subscription policy because or pricing model, because I would like to get people to subscribe so that I can focus on getting as many lists and getting reports out to as many jurors as possible. So the subscription model is a flat rate of $7,500 a year, and that'll give you one county every week for an entire year. Now, there is a freemium model, so feel free to subscribe to that. There's no charge, but very limited access, and I'll only be able to give you what it is that I have. So if you have a particular case on a list and you're subscribed to the freemium, send me an email at eheyburn, EHEYBURN, at voirdiredata.com, and let me know, and I'll try to make sure we can include the list in the freemium model. But if you subscribe to the freemium model and you don't send me a letter, there's just no guarantee that we'll have your particular list. So it's best to give me a call. And I should mention that as part of the subscription model, we're going to offer something additional. What we're going to do is provide the data in an alternate format. We're going to provide it in a digital format that's compatible with an iPad app called iJuror. If you are trying cases and you're not familiar with iJuror, I think that you have to stop what you're doing, get an iPad, and get the app. The app is relatively cheap. I think when I purchased it, it was about $20. But over the last 3 years, it has developed tremendously. It's an extremely powerful app. And essentially what we'll do is load all of this data into a format that's consistent with iJuror, and you can use the program with the jurors involved. You can assign various weights to the criteria that the jury or the iJuror tracks, and you can provide a rating system in terms of numbers and colors for particular jurors, which can easily identify which jurors are good for you. I think if you're familiar with the iPad, I think it's a fairly simple app to use. If you go onto my website, you'll see that there's a brief overview, a tutorial, and you can take a look at it just so you can see generally. It's not going to teach you everything, obviously, but you can see generally how it is that the app is used. If you do sign up for the subscription model, I will come out and do a training session at your office for an hour, and I will review the iJuror app with you and show you how you can use it to select your jury. And as an aside, the first time I used the iJuror app, I used it in a civil case in Mercer County, and it was a lacerated leg. The case had arbitrated for $75,000. I used the iJuror app to select the jury, and I got $1 million jury verdict. That case is still up on appeal, but kudos to iJuror. It helped put my information together and organize it in a way that I was able to pick 6 people that were absolutely terrific for my case. So it was well worth the $20 investment and the minimum amount of time I took to learn the case. So I hope that we can help you. I hope that you can subscribe. I hope that you come back and look at the website and purchase our products, and we're going to keep developing products that will help lawyers get verdicts that are good for them, whether it's a defense verdict or a plaintiff's verdict. So good luck. Any questions, give me a buzz, but I look forward to hearing from you.